So welcome back to the channel, and this video is going to be focusing on a replacement timing belt on a Transit 2 litre Transit Custom. The wet belts seem to be an ever so popular topic at the moment, especially on the Transit owners group and obviously the EcoBlue owners group. But as we all know, many manufacturers now are going over to the wet belt system. Ford, interestingly, on their later EcoBlues have gone back to a timing chain, although the wet belt is still there on the oil pump and they are causing problems. So the idea behind them, and the reason they sort of did it, was they wanted quieter engines, probably cheaper manufacturing costs, I'd imagine, and they wanted it to be more efficient. And they also, ironically, wanted the belts to be longer lasting. Now, they aren't just rubber, they are a bit of an elastomer, a bit of a composite sort of belt. You've got nitrile, neoprene, polyurethane, and I am reading this all. I'm not saying this from memory. But unfortunately, what is happening is the belts break down and they then go into the sump and block the sump strainers up and can cause further damage. On the Transits, you can get turbos going, or you can get your brake pedal going hard where the vacuum pump's been stuffed of oil and then fails. So it's well worth getting these belts checked. We're sort of suggesting around sort of 80,000 miles now, just replace them, just to be on the safe side, really. They do cause a fair bit of damage. They're not irreparable, but they do cause a fair bit of damage when they go. But yeah, we're going to take you through a Transit Custom now, and we have got some video footage on some of the EcoBoost Fiestas as well, and Focuses. So that'll be coming up in a later video, but hope you enjoy it. And here it is. So the Ford EcoBlue engine, it's quite obviously it's fairly popular now in the well, it's in all the Transits and the Rangers as well, and I think a few other cars. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but what manufacturers are doing now, and this isn't just Ford, this is a lot of them, they're putting the cam belts in oil, and the idea was better efficiency, longer lasting belts, and I suppose quieter engines. But what seems to be happening is they are deteriorating in the oil, and breaking the belts up. The belts are then blocking strainers or snapping, ripping the teeth off. The EcoBoost petrols tend to block the strainers up more. The EcoBlues either block the strainers up and you get a hard brake pedal because the vacuum pump seizes up, or they actually strip the teeth off. There's a few theories as to why. Wrong oil is a common thing. Crucial to use the right oil. We just put the Castrol in that we get from Ford and these, so just saves any hassle. And also, these obviously got DPFs in them, so when the DPFs are doing regens, it's dumping diesel in the oil, and then that's deteriorating the belts. We recommend oil changes on these every 8 to 10,000 miles if you want to keep them in better condition. A lot of them are 20,000. It's just too much. But yeah, we sort of recommend 8 to 10,000 miles doing an oil change, and it keeps them going. We look after a fleet of these. They've done sort of 170,000, and they've been all right. I mean, they have had a belt change, so they're on their second belt change because we normally do them about 80. But they've been fine. But they are on the motorway all the time, and they get in oil changes every 10,000. But yeah, it's seems to be quite a popular topic. So we'll take you through what we've got to do to change it. First thing we're going to do is strip all the airbox out, take the passenger headlight out and the power steering reservoir, etc. Get all that off, and we'll cut back in. Right, so that's auxiliary belt off now as well. And then I'm going to take it up in the air. We'll move the power steering pump out of the way because it needs to come out a little bit easier to do from underneath. Take this tensioner off, and sorry, the angle of the torch is really hard to show you what we're doing. So yeah, this tensioner off, the power steering pump moved over a little bit. As you can see, there is a tiny oil leak on it, which we need to find. I've taken the pipe off at the back, and there's a little power steering or aircon pump, belt that'll have to come off, a little stretch belt. So we'll do that. We'll get it up in the air, then bring it back down and get what we do when we're up in the air. We will get the crank pulley off, you need a puller for that, so that everything's all sort of done, and then we'll get it back down and put a jack underneath it. And right, so I take the wheel off. Just a note: never ever gun these. Well, never gun any locking wheel nuts, but especially not these full ones. They're appalling. And also, I also crack off with the bar the wheel nuts on these. Any of them with these chrome caps, I always just loosen them with a bar. As you will see, they're all loose, just because you end up mashing the chrome caps up with an impact gun. It's alright to run them on and off, but tighten them and loosen them, I think it's a no-no. So we'll get the wheel off, and then there's a little under shield on it that's got to come off, and a little tray here just to cut the screws. We'll get it all off and cut back in. Now, just a note on these, this crank pulley, I do not like gunning off. There's an idler gear, which we'll show you later on, and we've seen a few of them snap once camo's been done, and the only sort of consensus between us and a few other places are where it's been impact gunned. We can't really see any other reason why they break. We'll explain it more, like I say, when we see it. So we always lock the flywheels, and I have actually already cracked this off with the big bar, which is over there, but just literally we like to just crack them off with a bar, and wind them out by hand. It's just not worth it, the risk, in our opinion, of gunning it. So we'll get this out, and then we need a puller for the pulley, which we will show you in a minute. Right, so we pop just a little thing in the middle, and then these screw in these M8 bolts. Now, I have in fact seen these pull out, the threads in these, and you have to kind of like use your fingers and try and get a little nut in behind them. They can be incredibly tight, so we'll wind these in, get them tight, and then get a 17, 19 mil on that and wind it out. Right, so I've nipped that up, and then we'll just use a 3/8 bar to wind this off and press it off. Hopefully it comes off. It has to come off straight. If it doesn't come off straight, it binds up. So always sort of make sure it's butted up lightly to the pulley. And oh, you hear it crack there. That's fine. It's coming off. This one's easy. So that's beneficial. And then the power steering pump here is in the way of the pulley. Sorry, the cover. So we'll nip the bolts out, loosen it, and pull it over so that we can get this off. That can be done now. That's loose enough. And that is that off. Right, so I've popped the power steering pump, just loosen that off out of the way now, and I'm going to go ahead and just loosen some of these bolts just because it's easier to do them here. I'm not going to break the seal yet, but I'll just undo some of these bolts, drain your oil, drop it down, and get a jack underneath the sump with a block of wood to support it, and go from there. Just loosening off this engine mount. That's all the bolts out, and then we're just doing a tray underneath it, stopping the oil drips, and we can peel the cover off. Just to note, this has had a belt before, so this cover will come off fairly easy. The Ford ones normally are glued on now. They bend a lot when you take them off. I mean, technically you could reuse this, but we don't bother. Just put a new one on every time, and you don't have any issues at all. That oil leak, by the way, you can see is actually running down from the dipstick. I think the O-ring's a little bit worn on the dipstick, so I will sort that as well. But yeah, we'll just put a tray underneath it now and pull the cover off. Did forget, there is just this 20mm sort of bung here. That is always incredibly tight. And now it's cracked off, we should be able to done it. And then start to get a scraper in behind. Should go and get a hammer, but I'm being lazy. Just make a little opening. Like I say, I'm not concerned about keeping this cover at all, hence being very gentle with it. All I care about is not marking the sealing surface, really. And there we go. There we got to the wet belt. This one looks pretty good, to be honest. Pretty clean. Gonna whip get the pins in the cams, and then we're gonna clean up the surface, get the belt off, and fit the new one. Got both cams locked in with the pins here and here. It's impossible to show you, but down the bottom you've got a purple mark that lines up when the crank is in the right place, which you can rely on, not a problem. You can also get a locking tool as well, which we don't use, but what we like to do to make sure we get in the right place is put marks on the actual belt and the pulleys, transfer them to the new belt and put them on. A lot of vehicles you would say that's a bodge on. These ones not at all. They're all fixed in the right position. There's no free play, there's no free moving pulleys, so there's absolutely nothing wrong in marking the belt and transferring over to be doubly sure. Like I say, universal timing belt tool. I say there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing this, even if it's just to be doubly sure. And then we'll whip the belt off. Oh man, we will get a scraper blade and just scrape all this surface off. We're not bothered about anything landing in the sump, because we're taking it off anyway. And now at this point, I've got the van back up in the air. We're going to pull the sump off, just the 10 mils around the sump and the 10mm, holding a little pipe on at the edge here, and drop this down because we're going to do the oil pump belt on this one as well. And the strainer is all nice and clean on this one. We will clean all the surface up and then pull that oil pump off to get the new belt on it. We've got the mark transferred over, so we'll pop the belt on. Right, so the new belt is on the marks, and we will check these against the factory marks. Just going to put the tensioner in a second. And there's a locating peg for the tensioner, which does go in. And then we do this belt up. I'm not gonna torque it up yet, but I will do at the end. And this bolt here is what we're talking about, that breaks off if you potentially impact on them, which is what our theory is. Right, so that's not tight at all. And then what I'm going to do is pull the pin out. Should really hold that with 10mm Allen key, but it's up the top. But anyway, that's pulled out, and then we'll pull the timing pins out and we'll line up the factory marks and make sure they're all good before carrying on. Right, now we're just going to move on to putting the oil pump belt on. This little shield comes off. Oh, this one. It's hard to know if it's bits of timing belt or oil pump belt, but there is some in there, so we'll clean that out as well. I don't know, I can't remember if I filmed it or not, but we had to clean all the timing belt sort of bits out. We've brake cleaned it all off and blew it out before fitting a new belt. The oil pump is not timed. Oil pumps are never timed really, but sometimes they have balance shafts on them, and therefore they sort of need time. And you can see a bit of delamination on this one. It's not bad at all. The oil pump belt never normally are, but yeah, so new belt to go on. No point in risking it. That comes up, and then hang on whether you can see this or not. No, you can. So this little pulley, it's only friction held on by the crank bolt. Just slides over like so. Oh, I've done that completely wrong. goes up like so. And just turn it to get the belt on, like so, and then we'll clean that little cover out with some brake cleaner. Brake cleaned and blown out. And that can be put back in. That well definitely doesn't need talking. Absolutely not critical at all. Just nipping up. Right, so that's all cleaned up, ready to go. And then what we'll do, we'll put the sealant on the actual engine sump. Now the Ford sealant you use a primer for, and the sealant, but the stuff we use we don't have any problems with it. So, it's an L-ring, Loctite L-ring stuff, and yeah, it's really good. So there's a few more bits of sealant to pick off, which I'll do, some on the edges here that the machine don't get. We'll scrape all that off, and then we'll apply the actual sealant to this surface and then put the sump on. The reason for that is there's a real thin sealing surface on this, and if you put it on the sump, quite often you miss it. So we'll just put it on here, and we don't have any problems. Obviously, the other thing is the strainer's not getting cleaned out because it's absolutely spotless, as I showed you earlier. So I've torqued that up, and we're ready to put the cover on now. There probably won't be much point in me trying to film this. We're actually going to go from underneath. I normally go from at the top, but I think we'll probably be better off going from underneath this time. But it's going to take two of us just to guide it, and we're just going to be completely in the way of the camera. But we're going to put sealant on the cover and then just get it up in place. Cut out here, but there's a new little belt for this in the kit as well, and you can see the new crank bolt on. We are not using any tools on this one. You don't really need to, but there is a little trick you can use, which is put in a cable tie. So you can see where the belt is, how it is now. You'd put a cable tie on that top bit that's on the pulley, and then as you wind it round, it would pull the belt on. But these aren't too bad. I'm just going to do this one with my fingers. From memory, I think I mess it up the first time, and it pings off about now, and then again just hold it. But these ones are actually quite easy, they're quite nice to put on, so you can just do it with your fingers, and that is it, all done. Right, so that's all the covers back on now. Done the top bolts and everything, just the pipe that we took off to put back on, a little bracket over there and headlight and that, and we're done. The oil filter is on, and just fill up with oil, and this one is ready to go. So just a little note on what I was saying about the marking of the belt rather than using the tools. We do have the tools for these engines, but it just takes longer to actually set them up. Now, when we get a car in that's had a timing belt done and it's all been painted up, sometimes you can think, has it sort of been not bodged, but just sort of not done to the best of the best it can be. And on a lot of vehicles, you can't just tip X and move the marks over. Golf, for example, 2 litre Golf TDI sort of Mark 6, say. If you do that quite often, you'll have it when it's warm, it won't start properly because it throws a correlation code because I don't know if there's a bit of tolerance on the belt or the tensioners or whatever, but it will put the timing out slightly if you don't pin the cam shaft and make sure the crank's in the right place. But on these, they were fixed, and I'll show you a little drawing here. So on the transits, you can imagine, so the crank pulley is fixed and there's no movement on it, and also on the camshafts, the sprockets are fixed to the camshafts. Obviously this illustration is not the Transit EcoBlue drawing, but there's no movement. So the camshafts and the camshaft pulleys and the crankshaft drive are all fixed. There's no movement, so therefore it does not matter what method you kind of use, as long as the belt, the amount of teeth between the belt, sorry, the amount of teeth between the cam pulleys at a certain sort of fixed location, as long as they're the same, you can just transfer the marks over it. It really doesn't matter, so you don't even have to time it. If you're using this method, the timer can be anywhere, providing you get the marks on the belts put back exactly in the same place. There is no adjustment on them, so it really doesn't matter doing it this way on certain engines, and these are one of them. So thanks for watching the video. The next one will probably be about a week away. It takes a little bit of editing, I assume. As you carry on with this sort of thing, you get quicker at it, and it's probably easier to do them day by day. So I'm not sure which video you're going to see next. There is a timing chain on a Land Rover petrol, an earlier one, or maybe an EcoBlue belt or a head gasket job. Not sure. We've got quite a lot filmed, so we'll try and get the next one up in about a week's time, and hopefully soon we'll be able to start sort of doing some day by day and week by week, so it will be sort of almost live. But hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give us a little follow and a subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.